Welcome to the track guide for Okayama circuit here. Info, clear skies, 26 degrees, air temp, track temp of 26 as well. Laps that I did here for practice, 144.6 was my best one. So we'll do the onboard and then talk about it afterwards. All right, that was the lap. Let's go on board again. So I'm gonna slow this up a little bit. You'll see turn one, I'm braking after this Dunlop sign, not too far along after. You can see I start getting on the brakes pretty much right after the sign. Yeah, just coming in here, pretty hard braking, not 100%, but I'd say 70-ish, 75. Sticking to this white line as much as possible, and then spotting your turn in. Kind of, yeah, pretty much just after kind of this line here. Maybe closer to this. Yeah, so let's go back here. The turn in is closer to this here. You're down in third gear. Trying to get somewhat of a late apex to this one. Ideally a little bit later than what I did. And then coming up to the corner, you can run pretty wide on this one. It's up to you. You can go all the way to the left if you want. I think I just turned in a little bit too early, so I couldn't carry the speed. There's a little bit of time to find in that turn. And then coming out here, you want to go as wide as possible right away. You're kind of looking, you're going to need to brake a little bit just to get the front end turned in. And pretty much right here is kind of where I'm braking a little bit, maybe like 10, 15%, just to get that front end turned in and a little bit of speed brushed off. Yeah, so we'll see here, starting to turn in, yeah, about 10, 15%, getting right up on these curbs here. Keeping the speed up as high as possible, and then it'll drag me all the way to the right here. Don't put any wheels in the gravel. This is pretty much all flat out, trying to cut the track as much as possible. Coming to the next turn here, you're looking at the 100-meter board marker and the 50. You're braking somewhere right in the middle. So it'd be 75 meters-ish. It's going to be a really hard braking zone into this one. So you see here, roughly in the middle here, really hard, almost 100%. Actually, I do hit 100% braking. Down to second gear. This one's a tricky one because you can do it two ways. You can either come in late, or you can go in early. Either one, I think it depends on if you're fighting somebody at the time. They're pretty close in time. I'm going a little bit early here just because there's a bit of camber that you can use to kind of keep you there. So down to second gear, I'm hitting throttle before the apex, which is pretty common with this car. And then I'm trying to stay somewhat tight, but not too tight, where I'm scrubbing speed. And then I'll come back here, try to straighten the straightaway out a little bit. Coming to the next corner here, we're going to be looking pretty much the 100-meter board, maybe slightly afterwards. Getting on the brakes. Again, a really hard braking zone. Trying to get that front end turned in, and I'm actually going down into first gear for this one because this is a really tight corner. Again, trail braking all the way into the corner. Using this curb in here to get some rotation under power. That'll make sure I don't go too wide on the exit here because I want to come straight to the right as much as possible. And as I start turning in, kind of braking a little bit at an angle towards the barrier here where the tires and the barrier kind of meet. So let's get a little bit of braking done just to slow it down a little bit. Really early turn in for this one. There's no straightaway really afterwards, so it's best to get that early entry in. It gets that front end planted and you can get on the throttle a little bit quicker. And then I'm going to brush out right to the end here. Next braking zone, it's again a very slight braking zone, but you kind of do it right around the that white mark here. Just a little bit, just enough to get the front end pointed in. I'm not sure if second or third here might be the best bet. I kept it in second for this one. As I get more practice in later on in the season, I'm not 100% sure what the best one might be. But here I just kept it in second because I wanted that power going down the straightaway. So next break-in is pretty much around the 50 mark. Coming into it, staying to the right as much as possible. Again, pretty hard break-in. And you immediately kind of lift off the brakes and start turning in. These two corners coming up are pretty tricky. I tend to go a little bit early on the apex on this one, and then on the follow one, I try to do a later apex. Again, hard on the brakes and quickly bleeding off, trying to get that front end turned in, back on the throttle. Not going too wide to the right here, trying to stick to the left as much as possible. And then pretty much immediately back on the brakes just to get that front end down again and some bite on the front end. And this one here, you definitely don't want early apex because it will shoot you right off the track. So like I'm doing here, kind of right at the end of this candy cane rumble strip here, that's where you kind of want to late apex that one. And that'll get you, again, your full throttle pretty early on with this car. This corner is flat out. Just get your right tires onto the rumble strip pretty much. And then coming to this one, you're going as wide as possible, and your braking marker is pretty much at the end of this rumble strip here. You'll see onto the brakes, about 40%ish, turning in, using the stripe, the rumble strip here, and then nice and wide. 2 tires on the green, and then that's it. Down to the straightaway. All right, let's do a car chase. Car chase. And there you go. That's track guide for Okayama.